Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Rafae Iqbal, and in today's show we'll be deliberating on two very important topics. The first being Pakistan's political environment and the overall political situation that we have in the country. We know regarding that a dialogue was in process between the government and the opposition. With regards to that, there were many developments that unfolded in the recent days with negotiations between the PTI and the government once again taking an unpredictable turn, as the opposition now signals a willingness to resume the talks again, but the government is questioning the opposition's inconsistent and indecisive behavior. The PTI and the ruling coalition have been engaged in talks aimed at diffusing the political tensions in the country for nearly a month now. Both the sides have held 3 rounds of talks so far, with PTI now presenting a new charter of demands. The initial being a demand for the formation of a judicial commission to probe into the incidents of 9th of May and 26th of November. But now PTI presenting new demands, which the government said, and Prime Minister has also said, that dialogue is the way forward in politics, and he condemned PTI for their approach that they have taken so far and their inconsistency with regards to the ongoing dialogue process. In the second segment, we'll be talking about the State Bank of Pakistan, as it has cut the monetary policy rate by 100 basis points further and reduced it to 12%. The State Bank Governor, in his press conference, he highlighted all the positive economic trends that we're seeing, all the efforts that the government is putting to, of course, revitalize the national economy, and as a result of that, increasing trade and business activities in the country by reducing the monetary policy rate. We'll be deliberating on both of these topics in detail and the different aspects regarding the political scenario in the country, and of course the impacts that this cut in the monetary policy rate will have. In the studios, we've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh pitafi. Along with that, we've been joined by geopolitical analyst Faisal, and on Skype we've been joined by leader of the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, Uzma Kardar, and Barrister Safi Ghauri, who is a political analyst. I'd like to thank you all for your time and being part of the conversation. Starting off, our first topic regards to the political situation in the country. I'll come towards Ms. Uzma Kardar. Negotiations between the government and the opposition since we last talked, PTI's demands forming a judicial commission and their inconsistent approach. What do you have to say with this new development? And of course, the government spokesperson Irfan Siddiqui saying that we will wait for the PTI in the round of talks tomorrow, but if their approach and their behaviors are inconsistent as they've shown in the past, the way forward for these talks look bleak.
Thank you very much for inviting me in your program. As you can see, they have a totally non-serious attitude, and whenever they run into a dead end or come against a wall which they cannot penetrate, well, they have the expertise of taking a U-turn, and this is what they're doing right now. They tried everything under the sun to disrupt the economy from getting back on track. They created chaos, disturbance, starting from, I wouldn't say 9th of May. I think those 4 months of Zaman Park, they were an absolute, disruption and disturbance in the lives of the people of Lahore. Zaman Park became a no-go area. And we saw the petrol bombs and the vehicles of police being attacked, set on fire, and all that kind of things in which they took law into their own hands. Then came 9th May. And after 9th May, you saw that twice they attacked the capital. And what happened? What did they gain from all this? Nothing. Everything was, turned into ashes. Zero, multiplied by zero. So all the plans backfired. And these plans, if they had any democratic color, it would have still borne some fruit. But no, these plans were just there to derail the country further, to take it into chaos so that the economic revival could not take place, because, every time you hear the founder talking about default, oh, Pakistan will become Sri Lanka. So the thing is that negotiations have always been open as far as the government is concerned. PML-N believes in a democratic manner of moving ahead. And dialogue and negotiation is an important part of the democratic process. But of course, you saw that PTI, initially, they said, we just want to talk to the establishment. You have no authority. But when that door was closed, they came to the negotiation table with great reluctance. And here also, they were buying time. They were not serious about it. They were just buying time. They wanted the 20th date, the magic date to pass, and then see what would happen when the Trump administration was sworn in. Well, there their hopes were again dashed. Of course, Mr. Trump is not, he's got other things on his mind. He's not pushed about, interfering in the internal affairs of other countries, because neither do we interfere. So that brought them, to this point in which they have now uh, refused to further the negotiations. Why? They went back on their word. First, they gave 7 working days, just like Irfan Siddiqui conveyed to us. The negotiations were supposed to continue till the 31st of January. They backed out way before that. And the government actually was very open-ended. They were listening to them about the Judicial Commission. They were open to their suggestions. They might have even come up with a solution that suited the opposition. But no, the gentleman sitting in Adiala jail, he said nothing doing. We just get out of it because, when he realizes that all his devious, I'll say devious, because it's planning which goes against the state, against the interest of Pakistan, against the people of Pakistan. So when that falls flat, then he resorts to violence, he resorts to agitation, he resorts to, inculcating hate speech, inciting people against the government, against the state. So these are the tools which he uses through social media. Like the army chief said, digital terrorism is what is the hallmark of this party, which is hardly a political party anymore. Now again, Ayaz Sadiq has come forward and he has invited the opposition to come back to the talks and to sit, in the negotiations, because nothing has been decided yet. Maybe there'll be some common ground as far as the Judicial Commission is concerned. Maybe they can talk further about it. The government can very well just concede to one of their demands. Who knows? The doors were not closed. Nobody said no to them. So let's see if they come back to the table talks tomorrow. And we hope for the sake of Pakistan they will.
Definitely, as politics is the art of dialogue. Barrister Safi, I'd like your comments as well with regards to how the conversation is shaping up. When we talk about this dialogue process, we've seen there's been an inconsistency from the opposition with regards to this dialogue process. That being a hindrance in this resolution of issues and diffusing these political tensions, what do you see the way forward for the government?
Right, absolutely correct, Rafae. So here's my take on it. A lot has been explained already. You have mentioned, of course, that the PTI has been very inconsistent, has gone back and forth. And I understand that, this is a massive hindrance in the way any negotiations would take place. But I also just have a very simple question, which is, what are their demands to begin with? Because I am still not clear. Like, I have been following this entire process, reading on a daily basis, whatever they're saying. Every day, the demand changes. All right, fine. Let's just forget about the oral demands that they made in the past, which were things like releasing 5,000 political prisoners or undoing the 26th constitutional amendment. Let's leave all of those aside. Let's just concentrate on the 2 written demands that they have, and let's see if the government can even fulfill them from a legal perspective. The first demand is the formation of a judicial commission. The part that PTI lawyers for some reason are not telling you is that it is not something that the government can do. This is a judicial commission. The courts form judicial commissions. It is the prerogative of the Chief Justice. He is the one who will decide whether he wants to form a judicial commission or not. The government can apply to the Chief Justice. They can file an application under the Local Commissions Act, say, please form a commission. The Chief Justice will decide on it. If the Chief Justice says that I don't want to form a judicial commission, that's within his powers. You cannot force the Chief Justice to form a judicial commission, and as if that was not bad enough. On top of all of this, PTI is saying we will decide who the judges will be. Now, Rafae, I have been a lawyer for the last 17, 18 years. I have never in my life heard of anyone saying that they can choose the judges they want in a judicial commission. That just does not happen. It is not acceptable. It goes against the very powers of the court. What is a judge for then if you are going to sit and decide who the judges are going to be yourself? So the fact that their demand was that they will sit and work with the government and they will nominate judges simply does not happen. There is no historic record or precedence of that happening, and that goes against judicial independence.
Yes.
Now,
Right.
sorry, the release of political prisoners. Well, okay, which ones? Do we have a list? Do we know which ones? Did you at any point of time tell to the government who those political prisoners are? Sometimes the PTI says there are 6,000 political prisoners. Sometimes they say there are 500. Lately, they have been saying there are 33. The numbers keep fluctuating and they are not naming them. So what they should do is they should just give a list of the people they think are the political prisoners. They are not giving the government that list. Unless the government has such a list, how is it supposed to release people that it does not know of? Who do they categorize as a political prisoner? So they could also say, PTI could have said this. PTI could have said release all people arrested under the maintenance of public order. That's a valid thing. But are they going to? What are they going to say? Imran Khan currently is also indicted under the ATA. They cannot obviously ask for release of all terrorists. So what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's really going on. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. They want the government to come back and they want the government to say, here is a new bill. This new bill is an NRO which gives blanket exemption to everybody from PTI. They want an NRO, they want the government to say it, they themselves don't want to say it. That's it. That is what the whole haggling is about. They want a change in our law that exempts them from any sin that they have done in the past and they will do in the future, because they think of themselves as above the law. They've always behaved as entitled people. They've always behaved as if they are a different class of people, and that's what they want. So the government simply cannot obviously fulfill their demands, and when the government cannot do so because of the demands not making sense, they start throwing panic attacks and these tantrums the way we see them doing all the time.
Point very well made. And sweet irony, a national reconciliatory order, of course, politics that started from not giving an NRO to asking themselves for an NRO. Farrukh, pitafi, how do you comment on that?
Thank you very much. I think that I'm going to deserve judgment on the demand for an NRO. But what I actually want to talk about, Rafae, and this is going to actually build on what was said earlier, but I wanted to start far, far away.
Right.
And that is in the US and elsewhere. PTI seems to be under the impression that if they keep on lobbying, of course, they have a lot of lobbying power. We have seen that repeatedly. If they lobby Western capitals, they will get what they want in Pakistan. Unfortunately, that is something that is not happening, and they don't understand what times we are living in. At this moment, in all Western capitals, there is an anti-immigrant wave, political wave, right? So Donald Trump, of course, where does he start? He starts from actually taking care of migration and birthright citizenship. Similarly, elsewhere also, there are so many issues with migration that you have to understand. And then Muslims also have a context. So you are Pakistani Americans, you are Pakistani Europeans, you are Muslim by default, right? I'm assuming most of you are Muslims, and you're lobbying the parliaments and making yourself visible beyond anybody's idea just to get whatever you want, which may or may not work. So in the end, what you are doing is you are like a child who is playing with a razor or a blade and repeatedly trying to do things that is beyond your understanding. So what will happen? In the end, it will boomerang and it will create more problems because anti-Pakistan lobbies are aplenty there. India has a very effective lobby that keeps on framing Pakistan and keep on blaming everything on Pakistan. So I hope that PTI friends who are sitting abroad understand, wake up, smell some coffee and realize that they are undercutting their own roots there in America, elsewhere. And nobody knows what happens next, right? So please stop this madness. Regarding PTI, it was said that PTI is not consistent. I was just looking at the record. PTI actually first entered politics in 1997 in elections, could not get any seat. In 2002, they got one, of course, Imran Khan Sahab was the only member. Then in 2008, they boycotted the assembly elections. 2013, within 1 year, they start tendering their resignation. In 2018, of course, they are in power, but when they are pushed out of power in 2022, they again resign and leave the parliament vacant, right? And in 2024, they have once again tried to totally make irrelevant their own leadership in the parliament. So there is a consistency there. They don't respect the parliamentary democracy unless they are in power, right? This is one thing. The second thing is that all these temper tantrums that we keep on seeing actually tell you one thing for sure, that their attitude is such that they will keep on compromising their own leverage every time they throw a hissy fit. For example, they were moved out of power. What happens then? They resign from federal parliament. They then dissolve the two assemblies where they could have had any kind of influence. And they, at that time, the chairman, the former chairman was sitting in Zaman Park and he had all the security under the sun. But then they dissolved their own governments. Similarly, repeatedly, every time there is an opportunity, they actually run headlong in the way of opportunity and kill it, right? The fact that May 9th happened, the fact that before May 9th there was something that was substantial, that was the so-called Long March, to do what? To stop an army chief's appointment. And then they tried May 9th, which was seen as an attempt to unseat or destabilize the very same army chief. Then recently, when November thing happened, November 26th, once again trying to undermine state's ability to work, and then all that, flooding of misinformation. This actually shows you that PTI is against its own leverage. And they are very consistent in that context also. There's only one province where they have a government. And look at their chief minister, what they are doing to him. They have removed him from the party leadership, and the word has it that that chief minister might actually lose his job as well, provided Atif Khan is allowed to meet with chairman's, PTI, or founder PTI. With that kind of state of affairs, you think that they are going to get anything out of any dialogue when they keep on maneuvering their way out of any kind of advantageous position? In this kind of situation actually tells you that PTI's way, attitude of my way or highway has always undermined its ability to get what it wants. And unfortunately, because as was pointed out by our friend Safi, Barrister Safi, the point is that they are constantly undermining their own ability to ask for more by actually demanding impossible things. The state of Pakistan and by default government of Pakistan has a position on May 9th and November 26th. They are saying that by creating a judicial commission, of course the TOR is also laughable, but by creating a judicial commission you undermine your own narrative and the states. And then by actually declaring people who were arrested because of May 9th and all, political prisoners, and by becoming party, this is also their demand, become party to the case and be our party, right? Plead our case. If you are going to do this, what a reward are we giving you? We are going to talk to you, and we are going to talk about next elections or the best ways to bring us back to government. I mean, who are you? Prima donna? Who is going to actually take care of all this, and why would they do it? If helping you is undermining themselves, why would anybody actually practically want to do that. So there has to be a rational way to approach it. I hope PTI comes to its senses. I hope it resumes dialogue, and it actually looks at the mid-range, not immediate, mid-range concessions, which will eventually come when the term of the government expires. Without that, they will keep on actually spending more time in jails, and they will keep on compromising their own capacity to negotiate properly.
Definitely. Very important points raised. In light of that, Raja Faisal, do you think it's high time that the party gets its house in order?
Yeah, of course it is, and I think it has been a high time since ever since that they should have had that consistency in their own party. But even at this hour, when they have come up, I was surprised, by the way, by the end of the last week. In a way, I thought that they might linger on with their demands, but they simply said, "Oh, we're not ready to talk anymore." But I think over the weekend, somebody told them that there is a place that is going to be vacant, and of course it is due, and you are the ones who can play your role in bringing the new person. By the way, previously they were the ones who actually brought in a chief election commissioner, and now when the chief election commissioner is his time is obviously completed, and now it is an opportunity for PTI to play their role in terms of bringing in the new one. They are suddenly, woken up by someone that there is a role you could play, and I think you should continue with the talks. And when you are talking to the government quarters or treasury benches, you can of course highlight and you can show them your importance, and this was the time to show importance rather than simply not being present at the table of the talks. So suddenly they have actually put the reverse gear on, and they are coming back to the table of talks. And in these table of talks in coming days, along with the previous demands they have actually added another demand into it, and they will be starting with, of course, seeking a role to be played in terms of bringing someone who's acceptable to them in terms of upcoming chief election commissioner. And when we obviously talk about that, the things are going straight away towards their second phase of demands. Don't forget that when last time around they said that this is the first set of demands. Once they are fulfilled, then we will be obviously talking over the second phase of demands. The first phase of demand was what? As Barrister Safi highlighted earlier, that two of the judicial commissions, along with them judicial commissions to be with their appointed judges, someone who's of their nature, who's aligned to their ideology. I wonder why. I wonder how do they assess some judges sort of alignment with one of the political party, because judges are supposed to be apolitical, impartial, and they are not supposed to have a political leaning towards any political party. And in that context, of course, they want them to. And then there is a list. By the way, Barrister Safi highlighted 5,000 and then 33 and then 3,300 or something like that. I actually gone through one of the list that actually contains around 1,600 as a number of the people, and them people, majority of them, they're involved in the 9th May, and few of them they are actually involved in 26th of November as well. By the way, both of these the demands, they are related to these two incidents. And once first phase is completed in terms of their demands being settled, then they will head towards the next demand, the set of demand. And in that set of demand, of course, they are seeking that the February 8th election, 2024's elections, that needs to be probed. And here is the important bit. If they are coming back to the talks, the first thing they are going to be seeking is their role in bringing in the new chief election commissioner. It means that if the new chief election commissioner comes into the office, and then after the first set of the demands, they head towards the second set of the demands. That set of the demands actually carries a demand that is called the probe of the February 2024's election. So where are the things heading? To me, I think over the weekend, somebody's been sitting with them and telling them that you have to, of course, realign yourself rather than coming up with the scattered thoughts. I think before heading towards any kind of these talks about how they can come back and how they can proceed in terms of their role in the opposition, they need to, as a political party, they need to sit together, they need to brainstorm, they need to put the ideas on the paper, and then they need to come up with the best line of action, what they want and how they are going to do. I am talking about the next 10 steps or 20 steps as a political party which they are going to take. They need to draw a sketch of it rather than hunky-dory coming up with the, as if somebody is having a cup of coffee in somebody's office and suddenly they come up with a kind of idea and not knowing whether this idea is supposed to be put forward the very first one, or this idea should be kept safe and play that card later on in the stages. I mean, these kind of things, I always admire Pakistan People's Party. When they are in the opposition, they know how to play their game. I mean, right now, of course, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, PTI, I don't see them aligned to themselves. I don't know who's giving them ideas, but them ideas, they might be good, but there is no alignment in terms of when that idea should be brought forward and when, till what date that shouldn't be brought forward at all. So to me, is this the scattered thoughts of scattered members of a political party? They are not aligned to themselves. As you have already mentioned, that there are groupings within the PTI. I have always maintained, to me, I think even on ground, none of the current political office bearers of PTI who are seen outside, they have any iota of importance for the followers of PTI. In the eyes of followers of PTI, there is only one name, Imran Khan, who's sitting inside the jail, and that's it. And the moment he says something about an individual leader of PTI that he is not acceptable to him, that person is gone. And this is why we are seeing that Chief Minister of KPK, suddenly he has literally lost his importance. Forget about PTI as a political party itself, but people at large. Reason being, people at large of KPK, reason being, it's a vote bank. It's a vote bank of PTI. And suddenly they have come up with knowing this, that this person who happens to be CM of KPK, he is not acceptable to the man sitting in the jail. It means he is not acceptable to the people at large. So this is the value of an individual leader of PTI who's standing on whatever the standings outside. He has no meaning at all. There is a one-man party, it's a one-man party, and that man means everything to his followers, be there in KPK government, or be there in overall Pakistan. That's the man who matters, and none of the other leaders who are outside available for the talks, even if they say that they are available for the talks, I think for the government it shouldn't mean anything, because them people, they are not empowered enough at all. They are scared for themselves. If something they say in the meetups that is not supposed to be said in the meetups with the government government office bearers, then they are scared that what if it reaches to the man sitting inside, and that man would suddenly say, okay, he's out, and he's out. He won't be seen anywhere anymore. Reason being, the seasoned politicians, they don't want to be part of these talks even from the PTI side.
Ms. Uzma, your concluding remarks on how the conversation has shaped up, as we're running a little short on time, and to conclude this segment as well.
Okay, now what a glorious picture of a cult. Now let me tell you, there is no simplistic, explanation like they are going to come back to the talks because of the election commissioner and blah blah blah. Now, poor Raja Saab, he was also approved by the founder. But the moment things go against their wishes or their aspirations, well, all of a sudden they, take a U-turn, and then that person is sent to hell. We've seen that with so many people. You just saw what they did with Qazi Faiz, and they use this digital terrorism, their keyboard terrorists sitting on their, social media, trolling people, maligning people, peddling fake stories and all kinds of falsities. So, but if you ask me, I have spent quite a lot of time with the founder. You have to penetrate into his mind. He is a totally autocratic leader. My highway defines him very well. Anything, in fact, he, in his own mind, he thinks that he was born to rule. And this self, grandiose feeling of entitlement and righteousness, he has imbibed in his cult also, because that's the only way he can exploit them and use them to his own advantage. Now, the thing is that you must have heard that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, he got a taste of this power when he became prime minister. And we all saw how this, grand plan was made, in which he was supposed to be the PM for the next 15 years, and another gentleman was supposed to be the army chief for the next 15 years. You scratch my back and I scratch your back. And this was actually in a very, very final stage when everything fell apart. Now, the founder cannot come to terms with this, and he wants absolute power. His dream of absolute power, that is what is killing him in his cell right now. Why do you think he dissolved the National Assembly unconstitutionally? And why do you think he forced his CMs to dissolve KP and Punjab assemblies? For the simple reason that he thought that he's going to come back with a bang with more than two-thirds majority. That was the grand design. And everything blew up in his face. So you can imagine the frustration now. I think the only way this party can survive, because this party now does not give any importance to political seasoned politicians like Shah Mahmood, or I can name so many others. They are helter skelter. Nobody bothers about. Nobody even asks them what to do. People like Murad Saeed, and mainly his wife. She is the one now calling the shots. Why do you think Gandapur has been axed? Because of her. And this whole thing about, his own family taking over the party, there is this tussle between the sisters and the wife. And he is totally beholden to his wife. He will do exactly, because he is now very, very superstitious. He says he has a strong faith, but he believes in the occult. He believes that because of what she does or reads or doesn't, the kind of amliyat, or the whatever she does, that is what is making him survive to this day.
Mhm.
So his decision making power, I'm sorry to say, really has gone down the drain. Pakistan cannot afford all this anymore. The only way this party can survive is if they start playing the role of a strong opposition. They've got plenty of people sitting in the parliaments, in the National Assembly, in the provincial assemblies. They should use that platform, fight back, become a strong opposition. Whatever their demands are, they can be met through the parliament. And if they don't do that, they will fizzle out. They will just meet their own end, and they will
But
not be part of the democratic setup anymore. I'm sorry, but this is the writing on the wall.
Well, of course, dialogue is the way forward, and that is the way it should be for any political stakeholders. Barrister Safi, I'd like your concluding remarks as we have to wrap up the segment as well.
Right. So I really don't have anything in particular to say other than what has been said already. The fact of the matter is that the PTI is a party in disarray. They do not have any clear leadership structure. Because of a lack of a clear leadership structure, they continue to have different narratives. And the problem that I have in particular with PTI is not the fact that they themselves are not well aligned or that they go back and forth, that they're incompetent. That's something that we've grown up seeing in Pakistan, so it's not such a big issue. All other parties have varying degrees of incompetence as well. The one thing that irks me more about PTI than any other party is the fact that they, at times, at the cost of the state, become treasonous. So an example that I saw recently, which hurt me personally, I'm just going to say that, and that just sort of reaffirms the kind of feelings that I have for PTI, is the fact that, you know, our interior minister went and had a meeting with Joe Wilson, a US congressman. Right after the meeting, Joe Wilson tweeted, "Free Imran Khan." Now, PTI is retweeting him, talking about it as a great victory, about the insult that the government of Pakistan has suffered. There are two problems with it. Firstly, he insulted the state of Pakistan, number one, and that is a big issue for me. I think nobody should be allowed to insult the state of Pakistan. Secondly, the meeting was about China. He, in the same spat of tweets, also tweeted against Iran, against China, against Russia. So he said something against Uyghurs in China. He said something about democracy in Russia. In Pakistan, he said Imran Khan needs to get out because Pakistan is also autocratic. So what we're seeing here is a geopolitical issue where somebody is targeting Pakistan along with all its other allies in the eastern side of the world. The problem is that PTI promotes the narrative of the enemy. The funny thing is that, you know, if you see the kind of news that PTI has been spreading the most within social media, this is news that had come from India. The print.in is in fact the first news agency to break that site. PTI then propagated it all across the world. And what reasonable, responsible, good leadership should have done is immediately step forward and disassociated itself. I'm not saying PTI leader himself retweeted or, you know, some other major leader in PTI did so. But senior leadership in PTI should have immediately taken a step and said, no, we do not stand by this nonsense. We have anybody who is retweeting Indian tweets that are targeting Pakistanis, we do not stand by them. But instead what we see is we see them celebrating it. And that's the problem. That is the issue, that now their hatred towards the state has become treasonous. You cannot do that.
Very well taken, of course. And of course, national interest should be supreme, as we're hearing from all the quarters. I'd like to thank both of our guests for their valuable insights. Ms. Uzma Kardar, leader of the PML-N, and Barrister Safiullah Ghauri. Thank you both for your time and being part of the conversation.
One sentence, very quick.
Yeah.
This hashtag Free Imran Khan actually reminds me of menu choices in food. You buy this chicken and you get free Coke. Yeah. Right. So I don't know whether they are actually subscribing to some idea.
Definitely. With that, we'll move towards the second segment. And of course, a second segment with all smiles, as it is a positive development. The State Bank of Pakistan cuts the monetary policy rate even further and reduced it to 12%. A very welcoming development for all the trading and business community of the country. And of course, for every Pakistani as well, because we know with this cut in the monetary policy rate, there's a boost to the country's business and trade activities. Raja Faisal, we know the government has been putting a lot of effort for economic revitalization, and this cut in the monetary policy rate, along with other economic indicators, are showing positive signs as well. What do you say about that?
Yeah, Rafae, obviously when we talk about the policy rate cut, that always affects Pakistan's internal domestic investments. Of course, people who are still having money docked somewhere and not investing in different sectors, of course it is an opportunity for them to invest in different sectors of Pakistan, and I think it's brilliant. And this shows that Pakistan's economy is not in that phase which was being considered previously, that it is obviously facing problems, facing challenges. Right now we are seeing Pakistan's economy one by one covering all of the challenges, and now we can say that the environment is as such that the investors, the domestic investors, not only the foreign investors or FDIs which we were seeking, but even the domestic investors, they will be attracted towards, of course, investing in Pakistan in different sectors, and that would, of course, increase the pace of Pakistan's economy, and the mantra we always say that the currency should run around more faster in a country's economy. That actually boosts the economy. I think that is going to take place. Reason being, whenever there is a policy rate cut, that affects positively in terms of attracting the domestic investments.
Definitely. Farrukh, I like your comments as well. Of course, it's a welcoming development, and all praise for the government's efforts as their policies have resulted in this cut by in the monetary policy rate. But with that, how important do you think taxation and organizations such as the FBR and the reforms regarding taxation, how important do they become at this critical time with this increase in business activities in the country?
If I had told, somebody would have asked what question you are going to ask me, I would have told them it is going to be about taxation. Every time we talk about economy, you ask me about taxes. But first, I want to...
I like your answer on that.
No, I'll give you that. Of course, taxation is important, and I think that FBR is doing what it can to improve the quality of collections, right? But earlier, Raja Faisal was talking about money running around. So I just thought that maybe it has grown feet. But we were talking about circulation of money, right? The most important thing to understand, why do you raise policy rate? Why you keep on hiking it and then you bring it down? Essentially to ensure that inflation does not go out of hand, right? When inflation was going high, and it was, really high at one time, right? In 20s, 20% or somewhere around there. At that time, they had to actually jack up the interest rate to ensure that there isn't so much circulation of money that it actually creates more inflation. Because when you have more money and less things, what happens? Things go expensive, right? So it is essentially inflation. What now has happened is that inflation has dropped down to a lower single digit, right? Because of that, now the State Bank of Pakistan has been able to bring down the interest rate. It also helps, as was pointed out, the domestic investors or businesses, because then they can also be borrowing from banks. And when it comes to money making, if the interest rate is very high, then you don't actually invest money in the market. What you do is you take it to the bank and you invest there, because you're getting a guaranteed return.
Yes.
So with that kind of state of affairs, I think that economy is going to have a boost. The only thing is, I think my concern, and I think this is the sentiment of the market also, we are not cutting interest rate quickly enough, because at this moment, a nuclear bomb has gone off. Economic nuclear bomb has gone off in America, and it is going to reach your shores as well. The quicker you can respond to market forces and try to create more activity, that is better. Because then when the trade wars start between China or America, between India and America, India and China or whatever, you might have less oxygen. So it is high time to capitalize on that. And regarding taxation, I think that FBR is doing whatever it can. I hope in coming days we see more results. With that, I will conclude.
Definitely, and of course a welcome development, and all praise to the government for its policies of economic revitalization, as they are now bringing in fruit with all the positive economic indicators. Farrukh Pitafi, Senior Analyst, and Raja Faisal, Geopolitical Analyst, I'd like to thank you both for your time and being part of the conversation. With that, we wrap up the debate for today. See you same time tomorrow. Till then, take care.